Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we're going to have a little chat about a rumour that Abaddon, however you pronounce it, we're just going to say Abby because I'm going to get it wrong no matter what I do, and the Obliterators, for Chaos Space Marines, obviously, will be getting a new kit around December time. So this rumour has come from French Wargame Studio, which is another YouTube channel. It's sent to me via Twitter. Thank you very much to the person who sent me the link and also translated it. The original video is in the description, but it's in French, so hence the need for a translator. These guys have also predicted a Gorka Morka style game. They predicted that before Speed Freaks was known about, so they do have form. They've also said that there is someone else who has heard similar rumours, but I can't find who that other person is. So it's kind of a single source thing. They do have form for being correct on at least one previous occasion, and to be honest, on this one, it's mostly a case of me hoping it's true, but more than being 100% convinced. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I'm not sitting here like, okay, these guys have said this is going to happen, this is absolutely going to happen. It's more a case of I'd be disappointed if it wasn't true, simply because of how out of date both Abby and the Obliterators are. I mean, the Chaos range is a little bit weird in how it's been handled, in that we have things now like the Thousand Suns and we have Death Guard. Now, both of those ranges have some really nicely done models, some very nice up-to-date models, and they make the standard Chaos Space Marines now look really, really shit. I don't particularly like the new Typhus sculpt, if I'm absolutely honest with you, but it still looks better than Abby does. He looks bad. He looks old and a bit knackered, and his pose is terrible. It's just not really a model befitting of the War Master, and especially since we've had, new storylines where he and the Black Legion are supposed to have played a large part, and we haven't had anything for them. They're definitely in line for a refresh. Like, they need to be updated, especially since they are playing a major role in the story at this time. It's a little bit odd that we didn't see anything for them before. The only thing is, there's a few things that kind of stand out about this. Firstly, of all the kits in the Chaos Space Marine range to pick to update, Obliterators strikes me as a weird one. Don't get me wrong, those kits need to be replaced. Again, they look old, they don't look very good, they're ugly as sin, let's be honest. And the scaling feels all wrong compared to a lot of the new stuff now on those guys. But the plastic Chaos Space Marines don't hold up to Thousand Suns or to Death Guard. They, as the troops for just standard Chaos Space Marines, are nowhere near the standard or the quality of newer releases. So it strikes me as being very odd that Abby getting an update, that's not weird. That is required. Obliterators getting an update but no mention of Chaos Space Marines feels a little bit strange, it feels a little bit off. Also, there is no mention of Mutilators. I would guess if Obliterators are being updated, so are Mutilators, because it's like the same bloody model with different bits to stick on it. If you're updating one, surely you would update the other. It would be good if it's true. It would be very, very good if it's true, because they are definitely, models, they're definitely lines that need to be brought up to date. But the lack of mention of Chaos Space Marines feels a little bit off. It feels a little bit weird. There's also the fact that there have been God knows how many rumours now about the return of Angron and new plastic Berserkers, which I've seen slated for December. There's also Fulgrim and, Slanesh and Emperor's Children, which, again, I've seen slated for either end of this year or beginning of next year. Whatever happens, I'm of the opinion that we are going to see some sort of Chaos release. Although even then, December seems like a strange time to do it, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought, from what I can remember, that last year December didn't have any specific new army releases. Instead, we got those, I can't remember what they were called. They were like the army boxes, where it was like just a army, but in a box. I can't remember what they were called. Were they called Battle Forces? Whatever they were like a bunch of models in one package. I thought they replaced any new model releases last year, like last December. I could be totally wrong. I could be misremembering. It's surprisingly difficult to actually go back and try and find out what was sold exactly when, like what the timeframes were. But if that happens again this year, then I wouldn't expect to see anything brand new in terms of releases for any army for December. Instead, I would expect to see a return of those boxes where you get a full specific army. But if that's not true, if I'm misremembering, and indeed we do see new releases, at this point I'll just be really surprised if we don't see something Chaos related. Because all the things that I've seen slated for release around that time, Obliterators, Abaddon, Noise Marines, Emperor's Children in general, Berserkers, Angron, Fulgrim, all of this shit, it's, for the most part, stuff that either doesn't have a model currently that would fit into the lore quite easily, especially, Fulgrim coming back would make sense anyway, because he's already been mentioned explicitly as having interfered with Guilliman when Guilliman came back, so that would make sense. But things like the Berserkers, they need new kits. They don't look great. They were when Games Workshop were starting to move into actual, dynamic poses. And it shows that they were only just starting to move into dynamic poses because they look like they're made out of cardboard and they've been bent into shape trying to look as though they're running. Emperor's Children have been neglected for ages. Slanesh as a whole has not had a huge amount of love. And new Noise Marines definitely makes sense when you look at how well Thousand Suns and Death Guard did. So a proper Emperor's Children codex / models, that does make sense. The same does go for the Khorne Berserkers and the World Eaters. Having the 4 legions that are dedicated to the specific gods of chaos, having them all, on the same level, that does make sense. So for this particular rumour, I kind of hope it's true, because Abby does need a new model, Obliterators do need a new model. The lack of any comment about Mutilators is weird, because you would assume that both of them would be refreshed at the same time. The lack of Chaos Space Marines being mentioned is weird, because that is a kit that needs updating if it's going to be brought in line with Death Guard and Thousand Suns, both of which look vastly superior to them. And this is also alongside all the stuff that we keep hearing about Angron and Fulgrim and all of that shit. I think regardless of what happens, we're probably going to see some kind of Chaos release. Whether it's in December or whether it's a little bit later, I don't know. But towards the end of the year, or maybe just after the end of the year, I'm pretty sure we're going to see some sort of big Chaos drop. Because although the exact subject of what these models are seems to change from month to month, depending on who is talking and depending on which rumour it is, they are mostly revolving around Chaos as a whole. So I hope Abby gets a new model. I also don't know whether he would get a new model or whether we would see the return of a specific legion, or whether indeed we just see a massive batch of releases that goes on for weeks where Chaos gets a general overhaul. It's interesting to think about, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, because there is a weird kind of consistency among the inconsistencies, if that makes sense. The specific subject changes, but on the whole, things are pointing towards Chaos getting something towards the end of the year. So, at the very least, it'll be interesting to see what that is. But that is the current rumour. That is all there is so far. That Abby, new Obliterators, and that's about it. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click any of the shit videos, subscribe, Patreon, all that crap. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.